Leadership isn't just changing, it's evolving in ways we're only just beginning to imagine. And women, we're not playing this game anymore. We're the ones reshaping the entire field, building models, movements, and businesses that serve more than just a few. On the She Leads podcast, you'll hear real conversations with women who've broken through all kinds of barriers: revenue, identity, borders, and expectations. There's no sugarcoating here, just the truth, told by those who are living it. I'm Adrienne Garland, entrepreneur, strategist, educator, and creator of live experiences, gathering women leaders together for over a decade. And this is the She Leads podcast. Welcome back to the She Leads podcast. I am so excited to welcome my next guest. Her name is Cynthia Nelson, and she is in New York City, just like me. She is a strategic growth executive. She is focused on capital mobilization and sustainability-driven innovation. Cynthia is an entrepreneurial leader with over 25 years of experience architecting high-impact growth strategies at the intersection of sustainability, capital markets, and consumer innovation. She's got a track record spanning startups, global corporations, and family offices, and she's consistently launched and scaled initiatives that bridge industry silos, align mission with market, and mobilize capital to drive meaningful, measurable outcomes. I cannot wait to speak to Cynthia today because we are super focused here now going forward on women that are launching and growing businesses and supporting other women that are launching businesses and growing them past the $1 million mark or more. So welcome to the She Leads podcast, Cynthia.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel really old. All of a sudden, with all the I've done this, it's like I get, it's never the straight line, right? It's
No.
always the road less traveled, and it's never straight.
No. And with the years comes wisdom, and it's definitely hard won. And all of the things that I've mentioned, and there's more, those are your accomplishments.
Mm.
And so many people look up to that. And I think it just goes to show the capacity that women have to truly make a difference in the world. So I would love to sort of rewind it back a little bit and understand, who is Cynthia and how did you get to this illustrious position that you're in today?
So definitely by chance, for sure. I'm originally from Southern California, and I started in the tech industry. I thought I was going to be an artist. So I went to school to be a fine art major and realized, wow, there's a lot of people really great. I'm not as good as they are.
Mm.
So I switched to business, and this was in the mid 80s. And I found myself looking at computers for the first time and got a job as a receptionist at a computer component level repair company. There used to be those companies out there where you take your computer in and you'd get it fixed at the component level versus just getting a new computer, which everybody does now, right? So I learned kind of the ins and outs of what that new industry was going to become. So I saw like the first Apples and the first PCs and, all of that growing, and thought, wow, this is a really interesting industry to be in. And there was no real background for it because it was so new. And I love the technology side of it. I ended up growing in that position and being a partner in that position and a co-owner of the company. And unfortunately, my partner at the time decided to siphon all the money out of the company and send it back to his parents. And and so that didn't work out, but it made me really realize that, it was an early hard lesson, but it didn't devastate me, right? As it could have as I got older. I went into work for Ingram Micro in the sales department. So I led big clients like Egghead and CompUSA, Computer City, some of those companies again that are not like blast from the past again on the resale and distributor side. And then moved into the kind of new web intranet, extranet working for an advertising agency, basically out of San Francisco, and then repositioned myself in New York as well during a merger. And that was fascinating because it was, again, everybody was now developing websites and intranets and extranets. And I saw kind of from the beginning how production worked, creating these visual displays at that time, not even really commerce of what was actually happening. So I found myself, again, total twist. I had also worked at Home Shopping Network, but on the internet side. So it was the first internet shopping network was the first. It was the precursor for eBay and the precursor for Amazon.
Yeah, that's right. I remember
Early
that. Yeah.
early days, owned by Barry Diller. He was putting money into it. We were in Silicon Valley. And I thought this is such a great idea, but it was so early.
Mhm.
It was just really, really early. So I got back into advertising and worked on the executive side and strategy for Tribal DDB when they had about 3 or 4 offices. So they're part of DDB corporate now. They have 500 offices, probably at least,
Wow.
and saw that whole growth of the traditional advertising agencies having to spawn off internet groups to start to look at. This is pre social media. It
Mhm.
just was the internet side. Again, display, but now commerce came in. So they were starting to actually sell DTC
Mhm.
directly to consumers. And that was, again, really unique and different. I was in New York at the time, spending half my time in New York, half my time in Raleigh because I had IBM as a client. And I got married and I moved to Miami. And
Oh.
my husband was Latino. We'd known each other quite a long time. So I understood the culture of a Latin family. And when we got divorced in Miami, I was thinking, okay, what am I going to do? Sitting around, going to sell this house. I'll have a little bit of capital to sit on. And someone said, you need to meet this woman. She started this company called Todobebé. And I said, oh, Todobebé, everything baby, all things baby. That's really interesting. What is it? And I stalked her for probably 6 months and set her the tipping point, and she laughed hysterically and said, you're crazy. This is going to take 10 years. The market is not there yet to understand that the Hispanic family and the Hispanic mom is a viable consumer for big clients like Walmart, Clorox, P&G, so on and so forth. And
Mm.
I said, I'm in because you're going to build a media company.
Mm.
So we built a 360 media company all around pregnancy and parenting in Spanish. We were the first ones to do it. We had global infrastructure, content syndication. We were on Telemundo for 4 years and then Univision for 3 years. We produce 52 original hour-long episodes a year, which is you're in production basically every day
Wow.
for that. Obviously, we had the .com side, which was all informational. We didn't sell products. We ended up doing radio deals. At the very end, we did licensing deals, but we did raise a substantial amount of capital,
Mm.
private equity, but only after we had grown the company for 4 years and basically taken no salaries,
Wow.
which I
Oh,
don't I don't tell
don't
anyone to
recommend.
do not recommend that to anyone, but at the time, the 4 of us, all women, by the way,
Mhm.
had the capital and the time to sit on it and be able to grow it out. So when we did our deal, it was a very quick, one big wire transfer of $15 million and really no control of the company other than if we wanted to buy something, buy another company for more than $1 million, we'd have to go to the board and get approval.
Mm.
But that was a great 10-year ride,
Yeah.
and we ended up exiting the company to a publicly traded company in 2012.
Wow.
So it was a long it felt like dog years sometimes. Not every day is a good day in those 10 years, but I look back and I just realize I look at just the press releases that we did, and it was unbelievable. I get exhausted. We all talk sometimes. I'm like, I'm just exhausted. I
Yeah.
look at these, I'm like, I can't believe we didn't stop along the way and kind of embrace the success
Right.
versus just go, go, go,
Keep
go, go,
going.
go, go. That's all we did for 10 years. I gave up vacation times with friends and didn't do Christmases and didn't do all those things I would, again, would not do again.
Yeah.
It's not healthy. It does not make you a better executive or in any way, shape, or form to miss out on those things and not take some time to yourself.
Mm.
So those were kind of hard won lessons. And then the last 10 years, I've been back in New York and consulting. So I've always had my own. entrepreneurial business consulting. So I've done Apple and Amazon and Sony Music and Sony Music Latin US and Bose Ventures and work with private equity. I work with foundations. I'm kind of the plug and play fractional CEO, COO. Sometimes I come in and do capital raise as a CFO
Mm.
or chief strategy officer, marketing I'll help them with. So I've been able to kind of spread my wings and touch on a lot of different companies over the last, now it's been almost 13 years.
Wow.
And it's been really, really fun, challenging at times, but also super fun. So I'm blessed and happy and, excited that I can do what I want to do. I work at home most of the time, don't always go into an office with other people. And I'm perfectly content
Oh my
being that.
gosh. Your journey is so incredible. And I think it just speaks to, pivoting, changing, and all along the way, picking up a variety of different skills that you sort of put in that skill backpack in order to help what's next.
Yeah.
And everything that you've just spoken about just really reminds me of the growth mindset, the entrepreneurial mindset, the ability to not only spot opportunities, but then, take those opportunities and execute on them to really create value.
Mm.
And I'm sort of curious, actually, if you think about it,
Yeah.
your artistry
Mm.
has just transformed from fine art into creating and building something that's in a different category, but it's art nonetheless. So I hope that you recognize that as such because that's
Yeah.
not always, talked about.
I don't think about it in that way, but I think about it in the way that I was always curious,
Yes.
intentionally curious. And by the way, I dropped out of college after 3 years because I started in this entrepreneurial kind of journey. Before entrepreneurs were entrepreneurs, there was no
Right.
name for it. My
Right.
parents were just like, "You're a college dropout. That's not what we wanted." Not really happy with me whatsoever.
Yeah.
Now it's cool, but, it was definitely not cool, and I always had the ability, I think, to kind of raise my hand and say, "I'll do it." Like,
Yeah.
I'll even at Ingram when I was in my, like, mid-20s, 27, 28, I was known for the one who would go to the executive office because they would ask questions and, "Who's gonna work on this really weird project?" And I was always like, "Oh, I'll do it. I don't care."
Right.
And they gave me enough rope to hang myself, and I've thanked them for that, and they said, "Yeah, you didn't quite hang yourself, but there were a couple times you were skidding out in the in the curves," and I'm
Yeah.
like, "I know, but thank you because you allowed me to grow and make mistakes, and I was supported along the way, and I got great exposure, not only to the executive suite there, which many people did not get. I mean, it's a company of 10,000 people
Yeah.
globally, but also to learn from really amazing people. I had a CTO that said, "I work for you.
Hmm.
You don't work
Wow.
for me. I actually work for you. You're working on the Egghead account. It's $8 million now. What do we need to do?" And I said, "Well, they want these interesting EDI transactions that are custom." He said, "No problem. We'll make them custom." We went from $8 million a year to $90 million a year the following year just because we did that. And the CEO thought I was some brilliant person. I'm like, "No, the CTO did this
Did
for me,
it.
for me." And he's like, "I work for you."
Gosh.
That's like the attitude of
Mm.
technology that I've tried to hire along the way as well, because it's not always like that.
Yeah.
Tech companies, tech people can seem to think that they know everything and they build against what they believe and not really what sales or customers want.
Mm.
And it's always a fatal flaw.
Yes.
I've seen it over and over and over.
Yes.
And sales really is the front line for what customers actually really need, not the technology is just the engine that drives it. It has to do what the customer wants. It doesn't need everything in it.
Mm.
It needs everything that's in it to work perfectly.
So I teach entrepreneurship NYU and at Rice University,
Yeah.
and a key component of what we teach is customer interviews and really deeply understanding the customer because
Yeah.
everybody falls in love with their brilliant idea.
Oh, always, always. The baby's ugly sometimes.
Yes. And yet it is something that many entrepreneurs skip over or think
Yep,
that they know
I
better
know.
or that they're
Mhm.
the focus group of one.
Yeah.
When a company is in in a place where they might be struggling to get to
Mhm.
the next level or they're looking to, make a bigger impact or maybe enter a new market,
Mm.
going out and talking to customers that might not be your customers yet, your ideal
Mhm.
customer, can
Mhm.
you give just some advice on what are some really great ways to do that to be able to step outside of your mind, yourself, the love for what it is that you're doing and truly listen to
Yeah.
what your potential customers are looking for?
I mean, I definitely go back to Todobebé in a way because we had a database of probably 500,000 parents, moms mostly, in the database, and we intently listened to things that they were talking about. These were chat rooms by the way, and
Okay.
email forums. And we would intently listen to what they were talking about and wanting to understand and to know, and that became content creation for the show, for all the
Mm,
programming. I mean,
wow.
we could probably decorate the inside of a house, wallpaper it with that many emails, and it kept us going also because they would send in, "Thank you so much, I didn't really know I shouldn't hit my kid, but my mom hit me, but now I realize there's a whole 'nother way of
Mm,
dealing with this particular situation," or whatever it happened to be, or now I know how to get my husband more involved with raising the baby, which I didn't really understand before because my dad wasn't involved at all.
mm,
But the type of listening that we did, and we did a lot of research with that database as well. You get pregnant, you're having a baby, everything changes.
yeah.
Everything is new. So the kind of car you drive, what insurance that you need, what you're buying at the store, it's kind of the first time you think about the food you're putting in your mouth, your nutrition, their nutrition. Like
Yeah.
everything changes and they become big questions. So I think that was a great lesson in really listening to your customer and understanding how they were even evolving over those 10 years in order to create and continue to create content that was educational but entertaining
Mm.
at the same time.
How did you sort of know, and maybe you didn't know, but how did you know that this would be such a big opportunity and not only from an exit perspective,
Yeah.
but from just a sheer value creation perspective with this growing audience of
Mhm,
Hispanic consumers?
mhm.
How did you know that you should spend your time and not take a salary for all of that time? What inside of you said, "This is worth my time"?
Well, I had married the mob, remember? I had already been married to a Latina. So I understood really well the family dynamic. And I also understood the matriarchal tendencies of a
Mm,
Latina family. And I understood that if you go on any given Saturday to someone's house, there's a party happening.
mhm,
And if you go to a baby shower, it's like a wedding.
mhm.
It's huge and they spend and they also collectively spend. So the family goes shopping together, go to a Walmart parking lot in Doral, in Miami and Doral, on or Houston or San Antonio on any given Saturday, and you'll see an entire family shopping together. So
Mm,
there's a collective buying power that happens.
mm,
And I knew that there was also nothing out like that. I mean, What to Expect When You're Expecting had been out for many, many years as a book,
mm.
but never written from a Hispanic perspective, Latina. So we actually published a book, one of our co-founders, Jeanette Kaplan, who's an amazing journalist, English, Spanish, and a great, I'd say not even influencer talent at this point, wrote a book from a parent, from a Latina mom's perspective
Wow.
about everything you want to know, about raising your child from her perspective as a Latina American.
Mm,
And it was really groundbreaking. And the type of content that we had. And originally, the heads of Telemundo and NBC thought, oh, this is really great. No one's ever going to watch this. They don't really care that much. We're like, okay, that's great. We'll just go buy spots in all the local major stations, and we're going to do this anyway because we already had the show
Mm-hmm.
before we got funding. We had already funded the show and episodes and already had clients, like at that time AOL, and
Mm-hmm.
then we had Ford Motor and 3 or 4 other big clients.
Yeah.
So they were funding the paying for the show basically. And as soon as we did that, they thought, wait a minute, you can't do that. We're going to take you to the upfronts. We're going to make
Mm.
this a weekly show on Saturdays, which is a kind of a dead time anyway.
Yeah.
Saturday mornings besides cartoons. So it was a Saturday morning show. But I saw that I didn't know anything about content production like that, television production at scale,
Yeah.
or production budgets, or filming. I didn't know anything about radio syndication. I didn't know anything about product licensing. I didn't know anything about scaling large events in Walmart parking lots and then doing virtual events at scale. So all of those things were new opportunities to break ground and to be the first. And it's not always easy, but
No.
our clients bought 100% of our inventory every single year. Walmart, P&G, Clorox, Disney, all of them bought out all their competitors. They bought every piece of inventory we had available. We were sold out every year because it was the only place you could get that content and organically integrate their brands into storyline opportunities.
Hmm.
So that's a lot of it's a lot of work. It's a
That
lot of
is a
work.
lot of work. It's absolutely incredible. And what do you think gave you the you have confidence, but it's so much more than that because just speaking to you, your confidence comes from curiosity. It's almost
Mm,
like confidence doesn't even factor into it because you're just looking to sort of explore, to learn,
mhm,
to see if something is possible.
mhm,
And I think that's an incredible characteristic. So many women get in their own way
mhm,
with the idea of feeling like they need to know it all in order to progress.
mhm.
What do you think sort of made you like you are, and how can more women sort of lean into the curiosity to just obscure anything having to do with confidence?
I had nothing to lose. I always felt like I had to work because I had dropped out of college. I always felt like I had to work harder than everybody else.
Hmm.
It was that feeling of I'm not quite good enough
Hmm.
that drove me to take on new challenges and learn new things faster and better than anybody else was doing it. So it
Hmm.
was that part of that drive for a long time that drove me. And then I realized, yeah, that was the best thing that ever happened to me
Yeah.
because I didn't have the walls around me of you've gone to school to do these things. And if you don't do those things, you failed because you just spent 4 years or 6 years or got an MBA and did. And I was just
Mm.
talking to one of our lawyers at Wilson Sonsini with a client the other day, and he's like, every time you come, you have everything lined up. It's already like legal ready. Were you a lawyer? I'm like, no, I just played one on TV. I said, I've done like 1,000 contracts, so I understand what needs to be in them. But that's not because I went to law school, but because had to do so many and execute so many contracts. It's just out of pure requirement. And in a startup, as a COO, I did everything. I had technology, marketing, research, sales, our digital teams, everything was under me, with the exception of finance, which I co shared with my CEO, and production, which was under our chief creative officer.
Amazing. So now you have 2 podcasts, right? And
I
you
do.
and you speak to women about their journeys and just the important things that they have to say. So we're
Yeah.
on the same page with making
Mhm.
sure that we're sharing women's
Mhm.
stories.
Mhm.
It's almost like we everybody must do this because we're so underrepresented.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about why you decided to start these podcasts and also how
Yeah.
you help women to launch and grow successful ventures?
Sure. So the first podcast, Let's Talk About, was launched almost 2 years ago. Actually, just out of curiosity from my perspective on video commerce, because it was becoming such a big thing. And having been in commerce for so long, seeing this new kind of explosion happening in China first, and then moving to the US. I just started calling all the company CEOs that were running these companies, Bamboozer and Talk Shop Live and Fuse Fireworks, our firework. And so I started calling and saying, "Hey, I'd like to interview you. I'm doing this podcast on video commerce. I want to get your perspective on what's happening, how the US audience differs." It was out of real curiosity, and
Mm,
clients were asking about video commerce. So I wanted to become more educated about it
mm,
and get the right people on the show. So the first probably of the 80 or so episodes on it, the first 20 are all about video commerce.
mm.
And then I started looking at, well, what are marketing people saying? Like, how is marketing changing? How is digital change? How is the creator economy changing? What we're actually doing, going out and looking for. So now I get a flood of emails a week from people all over the world who want to be on the show. So I don't ever have to go out and search for people. I just have to sort through them
Sort
and
through.
and say that's really not for the podcast, but the other one. And then the other podcast, the Innovators, is 50 Badass Women, 50 episodes. And that's just, it was Christmas vacation last year. And I said, no one's doing this. And this is kind of my love letter to all of my executive friends and their friends and other people that I meet. So that's how that one actually started as well. And that was just, again, my love letter to women to continue to support and promote women of all different generations and, individuals who've been in foundations forever, started at Sesame Street, who started multicultural companies, who dip, weed companies, like you name it. They're kind of in the podcast. And it's fascinating because I learn something every single time. And
Mm,
we can share that struggle, but also I want to reward them and put joy into the life of other women who are doing things like this and make sure that we're heard. And because
agreed.
I had so much going with the other podcasts and quite a big following that organically grew on LinkedIn, have a voice
Oh,
to tell those stories.
I love that so much, and what a brilliant strategy for everybody who's listening in. It's we talked about customer interviewing, really getting to know your customer, inviting them onto a podcast and having an in-depth conversation for 35 minutes or more is an excellent way to truly understand your customer if you know how to ask the right questions. So, you know, sometimes people are starting podcasts so that they can get however many thousands, millions of listeners.
Yeah.
You can use podcasts and the podcast strategy strategically
Yep.
in order to literally grow your business. It's
Yep.
brilliant.
Yeah. I definitely used it with the first podcast. And then I wrote a book, an ebook, and then a second chapter of the ebook on video commerce as well during that time period. And it definitely propelled my LinkedIn profile
Mm,
dramatically and organically. It grows, I mean, 200, 300 a month, whatever it's doing now, not really watching as much, but it grows just if people watch those pieces of content and then being able to take, because I video it and also audio it. And so I take the videos and I drop them into Opus Clip and I clip a bunch of clips so that I can replay them. And I always send them the full file if they want to do that as well. So they're taking clips and using them for promotion for themselves. I'm like, look, this is a great area. You said something really amazing here. You should use this in on your profile to tell people how smart you are and to
yeah.
get more business. So I
Mm.
always encourage them to go off and do the same thing with it.
Oh, I love it. I just love it so much. So, how are you helping women today to grow and scale their businesses? And with that, what are the major challenges that you see women face? And maybe we can talk about early on when they're
Yeah.
launching their companies and then when they're approaching, getting over those hurdles. And the hurdles are the, 250,000 in revenue,
Yeah.
500,000, then a million. What
Yeah.
are the challenges that women in particular are facing at those different revenue marks?
They don't always have the group around them, a support group that actually not just loves them, but will say the baby's ugly and
Mm,
that business model is not going to work.
yeah.
That's a big one at the beginning because, again, you fall in love with it, you think it's great. my door is always open, so I get calls from friends and say, "Hey, she started this little company with lotions and potions in Brooklyn, and she doesn't have a business plan." And like, it's okay. You don't need to write a long one, but you need to kind of know where you're at, where you're going, what the competition is doing. So I try to give them advice or documents or contracts or anything that I have in my arsenal. I
Mm,
always provide, but I think it's at the beginning stages when you don't have that team around you. And I don't mean hired team, I mean team that's going to shoot your ideas down and make you rethink them. I think it's really critical. You can have a vision and being able to drive the vision forward for years and years and years and being able to sustain yourself for those years is that's when everybody drops off.
yeah.
They go for the first couple of years. I mean, I've had friends leave corporate, want to be consultants. And I'm like, yes, you have to go out and get the business, and then you have to do the business, and you have
Mm,
to go out and get more business to do the business. That's actually what it is.
yeah.
AI can do some things for you now, but it does not replace the work that you're going to need to do. And if you're not ready for that kind of lifestyle, don't get into it.
Right.
Go back to a corporation. If you need health insurance and you have kids that are going to college, fine. There's no shame in that.
Yeah.
There's no shame in that of getting a paycheck. Just know that this type of lifestyle over here is going to be very different in starting a business, and you won't have those safety nets, so to speak.
Yeah.
I also go to women in VC and try to attend meetings. I'm doing one today, Fabric VC, which is out of LA, but they're in New York as well,
Hmm.
an event for women founders and women funders
Yes.
to talk about what's happening in the market, who's getting funded right now. It's been an incredible struggle for the last year, at
Yeah.
least. I mean, it's always been a struggle for women. We're getting like 3%, right, of the money that's out there. It's always been an incredible struggle, no matter what. But now it's even worse.
Mm.
And
Why
the
is
amount
that?
of, investors are nervous.
Yeah.
Investors are nervous. The market's jittery,
Hmm.
political, geopolitics. I mean, you name it. There's a whole host of things that are happening, pulling
Hmm.
back on DEI, which I
Yeah.
think is incredibly stupid.
Yep.
But, there's all of that happening at the same time and cutting through that. You already had to cut through being a female entrepreneur, trying to, raise capital and grow a business and convince people. And the types of things that I've experienced and I've heard from other women is still appalling.
Yeah.
You know, you're pregnant. Really, could you run a business and be pregnant? And the woman's like, I raised 3 kids in a restaurant. Do you know what that actually is like? Like a restaurant business is 24/7. Yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do this. Or you're too pretty to want to raise capital.
No.
It's like, yeah, yeah, no. I mean, like just, nuts
Nuts.
stuff, but stuff that still happens. And I always tell them, you're interviewing them. First of all, do your homework
Hmm.
when you're looking for capital, no matter if it's angel capital, and if you start to get into the VC world, very different.
Hmm.
Know your audience, know what they're looking for, know what they've invested in, understand your business inside and out, know your CAC, know your LTV, know how you're going to grow. Not everything is the next Amazon or the next Uber or the next, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of great investments going into health tech
Yeah.
and women's health tech, which I think is phenomenal.
Yeah. That is
But
definitely a big area. Yeah.
it's a really big area now, and Ostia Ventures is another one that I work
Yes.
with,
Ostia. Yeah.
that I've done scoring, in the scoring
Yes.
system, done scoring for a bunch of them, and a lot of them I've seen over the last 4 years since I've been doing it, a lot of it's turned to health tech,
Mm.
which is not my background, but then I just go ask people that are smarter than me in that area, like, what do you think of this?"
Good strategy. N- More and more women are becoming investors in order to, I don't know if it's even out, but in order to sort of give back in that way. So, women that have come
Mhm,
through corporate, women that have
mhm,
had successful exits, they are becoming angel investors and even
mhm,
venture capitalists on their own. Do
mhm.
you see a difference? And I'm sort of surrounded by that world because I try to curate my social media feed to make
Mhm.
sure that I'm there. And so it seems like every woman is becoming an angel investor or venture capitalist. But I also know that that's not really true.
Yeah.
So, some of the women that are becoming investors of their own, do you see them investing in different areas than traditional angels and venture capitalists, or are they sort of following the same playbook?
I do think they will look at other ventures, but with the same critical eye
Mhm.
that they would do in traditional investing.
Mhm.
There's a woman out of Zandra, out of LA or Orange County that created a company, Osea Ventures, that really taught women how to invest
Yeah.
versus just, hey, let's put our money together and let's go out and invest in these early stage, very angel early stage. There's actually a whole teaching about how to invest, why you invest, what you can expect, and if you can't lose, then don't get into this
Mhm.
because these are very risky.
Yeah.
Early stage angel investing is extremely risky and it can go one way or the other. You don't have to invest a lot to make an impact.
Mhm.
And I think you learn a lot
Mhm.
by investing. I don't see as many women who have really had an big exit go back into investing. I mean, it does happen. Not it. Usually they'll go back and create another company.
Hmm.
Not
Very
always going
interesting.
back into investing, or maybe they're doing some angel investing. There aren't enough out there for sure.
Mhm.
And I think they also feel like it's kind of maybe a scary proposition,
Mhm.
putting their money into something they're not exactly sure of. Again, they don't have the education going into it
Mhm.
of what it should be. If you've been on the other side of investing where you've been invested in, you also know the pitfalls,
Right.
which I think makes your voice and advice much more valuable
Mhm.
to other women who are starting companies because, again, you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. And if you don't like what you hear, you have every right to walk out. Just be
Yeah.
like, no, you're not listening. You're on your phone. You don't give a shit.
Oh
I'm
gosh.
out of here.
Yeah.
I don't, yeah, this is not for me. I don't want to waste any more of your time. I will just leave.
Yeah. It's I often wonder if it's worth I mean, it really depends on what your venture is, but I wonder sometimes if it's worth spending the time going out and seeking funding, or if that time is better spent in your business funding yourself via revenue growth.
Yeah, I think that it's changed so much. It used to be all about growth, 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 and no EBITDA, and now it's the opposite.
Yeah.
It's people want to see actual MRR, AR. They really want to see that the business has some traction, and they want to know you have skin in the game. There's no more walking in and getting a check and not having your own skin in the game or safe notes from friends and family. It just doesn't. It's not happening anymore. There could be a potential unicorn out there doing it, but it doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned.
Interesting. And one final question. I feel like I could talk to you forever. But I'm wondering, out of the women that you see that are, successful, they've had an exit,
Mm,
they're making a solid hefty profit in their business. And they've sort of got the systems down, they know how to scale, they know how to run
yeah.
their business. Where do you see women sort of turning their attention toward when they get to that point in their business and in their lives? And that could be anything. It could be business, it could be personal. I'm just kind of curious what, some of the women that you're talking to and working with, what are the things that they're starting to think about at that stage?
I think it becomes a little bit different as you get older as well, the impact that you can make. I think now people are looking towards not so much foundations, maybe, but some of that, but some of it more impactful. What am I investing in that's actually making a difference and making the world a better place?
Yeah.
Not Pollyanna, but like what are the new technologies out there that are going to make the world a better place, that are going to help change climate, help reduce emissions, bring healthcare to women to a better level so all women have the right kind of healthcare. They start to look at things that are impactful that they didn't have
Mhm.
versus when they
Mm.
were running and driving a business. But once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur, they always end up saying, I'm never going to do this again. And then they always end up doing it again.
Right.
Almost always.
Yeah. Sarah Blakely is a good example of that too. I never thought she would do anything else, and I guess, yeah, you can't you can't help yourself. You're a
You
builder.
You're a builder and an operator and a grower, and
Yeah,
some people like it at the beginning, they get it to a certain level, and then they're like, I don't have the skill set, and I don't wanna have the skill set to continue to, take something public or,
sure.
get around B in there, and you're not the right person also to run a much bigger company. You don't have that experience a
Yep.
lot of times, and growing into that can be extremely painful. We've seen
Yes.
it over and over and over, and it's to me, it's kind of crazy that we always see these bad stories of the wing
Ah, I know.
or, or outdoor voices or,
Mhm.
she was like 20. These people were really young
Yeah.
when they were doing this and they were the prized, you know,
Mhm.
unicorn. And then something went wrong. And then they were, shunned and fired out of their own
Vilified.
companies. And,
Yeah. Oh,
and they learned a lot from that. We don't hear about the guys who get these massive checks, blow all the money, and then go out and raise another
more.
$350 million
Yeah.
but like you did this already and it didn't work out at all for
Yeah.
anybody, but we're willing to give you more money to potentially go do that again. I don't understand that yet. The women get villainized
Yep.
in the press
Yep.
for making mistakes, and yet they spent the money the right way. In fact, they always spend less.
Yep.
They're always more on budget.
Yep.
The returns are higher
Mhm.
to investors in any kind of exit. So it doesn't make a lot of sense until more women are in really big positions at VC firms and at big investment firms where they are not afraid of investing in women's companies and taking a stand that this is a good investment. It's not a women's investment, it's a good investment.
Yeah.
A lot of times that happens too, where they're like, yeah, if it doesn't work, I'm on the partner track and, it might not work out for me if this doesn't work. So I got to stick with what we know, which
Mm.
is what all the guys are doing over
Yeah.
here.
Pattern matching. Yeah.
Pattern matching happens in Silicon Valley all the time,
Yeah. Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think that, you know, that any of the challenges are going away. So we just need to make sure that we're making smart decisions, that we're starting and growing businesses that we feel like we can sort of grow on our own and, you know, get advisors around us that can help us to achieve what we are setting out to do.
And I think most women are good advisors. They will give advice. Reach out to anybody on LinkedIn or to ask anybody. I would say 99% of the women who have had any kind of success at all are more than willing to take the phone call
I
and
love that.
give you a half an hour of their time, for advice. I think it's our job to do that. I think women we're kind of just built that way anyway.
Yeah, we're just better.
We're just
So let's say
we
it.
all go to the bathroom together, so we might as well give each other advice
It's
on everything else anyway, because I think
it's
it's
so
just
true.
part of our nature.
Agreed, agreed. Cynthia, how can people get in touch with you if they wanna ask you a question?
Oh, LinkedIn is probably the best way to get a hold of me. My email address is in there, and you can, click on my website as well and set a contact form. But LinkedIn is the easiest way to get me. I'm on it all the time. I look at it, and I try to respond to messages there as well as much as I possibly can. But, if you have any questions, just drop a DM in there. Or if there's a post that you like, drop a DM in there, give me your information, and I'll get back to you as fast as I can.
Absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for spending your time with me here today and giving
You're
me all
welcome.
of your advice, and your journey is so impressive and interesting, and we'll be sure to put all of the links to the podcast and all of that in the show notes. And thank you so much, Cynthia.
No, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Great show.
Thank you. If this conversation moved you, inspired you, or made you think differently, please take a moment to leave a 5-star rating and review. It's not just about boosting the show, it's about amplifying the voices of women entrepreneurs who are leading with vision, building with purpose, and shaping what's next. We need more of these conversations in the world right now, don't you think? And if someone came to mind while you were listening, someone who matters to you, send this episode to them. If there's something on your mind about leadership, legacy, or what's next, I want to hear it. Head to sheleadsmedia.com/voice and leave a voice memo or note. Your insight might just help shape a future episode. Make sure to follow the show and come back next week for more conversations you won't hear anywhere else. Thank you so much for listening. This is the She Leads Podcast Network. This is the She Leads Podcast Network.